Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you may be. I'm Shaun Dakin, and I run Dakin Associates, and I'm here to talk to you about social media strategy, reaching your core target audience for nonprofit communicators. And this is part of a PCDC, Progressive Communicators of the District of Columbia, ongoing training series. So without further ado, I'm going to try to share my screen and we can get started here. So here we get going. It's social media to reach your target audience, be part of the conversation. And again, my name is Shaun Dakin, and I'm with Dakin Associates. So let's get started on the agenda. All right. And you can see that it's talk about my approach. I'm going to talk a little bit about integrated communications and that they're key, that social media is not all by itself, that it needs to be part of an integrated communication strategy with all communication strategies, with PR and marketing and sales and membership and fundraising and advertising and every possible aspect of communications it should be part of. We're going to talk about a little bit about Facebook, and there's a lot of discussion in the nonprofit community about whether to stay or go and how much to spend. Have a little bit of conversation there based on a discussion I led at the Nonprofit 2.0 conference earlier this summer in Washington, D.C. And then we're going to get into a really interesting case study about the power of social media to drive the national conversation and really change the agenda and change the discussion by a gun control, gun violence prevention group called Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. And then we'll do a little bit of lessons learned. So let's get started. You can see hopefully now about my approach. And I really love this slide from Greenpeace, which is essentially, it gets down to the fact that, as we all know, 20, 30 years ago, with 3 TV stations and a couple of radio stations and the New York Times and the Washington Post, communications was very top-down. And you could control the message. You could buy the message through advertising. You could try to control influence makers with getting op-ed published and pitching journalists. But now with the internet and social media and blogs and 500 channels on TV, conversation is not happening on traditional places, and so you can only change that conversation if you're part of it, and you can only be part of it if you participate in it, and participating in it across many different places, including social media and blogs, and on traditional media's websites as well. All right, so let's move on to integrated marketing communications, right? So I just want to touch on this for a second here, just to be sure that everybody, really understands that there are a lot of channels to communicate, and so it's really important to try to coordinate all of those channels of communication. Social media is part of many different channels of communication, and it's really important. Those that succeed are able to integrate those messages across the organization and across all those channels. Now, people have been talking about this for years. I've never seen anybody do it, amazingly well, but it's a good aspiration to have, really good aspiration to have. All right, so let's look at my next slide. So Facebook, right? Everybody is talking about Facebook, and organic reach is going down, and we invested all this effort into Facebook, and shouldn't we just get rid of Facebook and stop putting any money there and any effort there because they're so evil and horrible? And my answer to that is, if your members, customers, prospects, donors are on Facebook, you need to be on Facebook, and you need to pay. Okay, I know that's hard to understand and hard to accept, particularly for small nonprofits, but you can pay with not a lot of money, $50 a day maybe, in order to help get your message out there and to drive actions that you want. So my recommendation is that. So here's a couple of suggestions. All right. So some Facebook strategies. OPC is key. That's my mantra. If anything you can take away from this presentation, OPC is key. Other people's content. Nobody cares about your Facebook page. Nobody cares about your press release. Nobody cares about your white paper on Facebook. Okay, Facebook is social media. Social media is social. People go there mostly to see pictures of their friends' babies and their grandchildren and fun pictures of puppies and videos of rhinos and stuff like that. You have to figure out how you're going to compete with all of that information going on, right? And so one strategy is to newsjack. And this is not my term of art. This is David Meerman Scott, who wrote The New Rules of PR and Communications. I highly recommend that book. He also came up with this term called newsjacking, which bottom line means you understand what's going on in the greater conversation in the world, and you figure out if it's appropriate for you to newsjack or to insert yourself into that conversation that's authentic and real and makes sense, right? So most recently, a great example for that would be the World Cup. To what extent could you insert your organization and your messaging into the greater world conversation around the World Cup? And that can make a lot of sense if you do it right. The third thing I would suggest is to pay to play. Yes, you really do need to pay to play, and Facebook can make it very, very cost effective to do that. Really recommend that you do that. The other thing is I really recommend this tool called CrowdTangle. CrowdTangle allows you to see not just what's working on your Facebook page, but what all your competition is doing as well. So for example, I look at for one of my clients is in climate change, so I look at about 50, monitor about 50 climate change Facebook pages, and CrowdTangle didn't show me what's working and what's not working, what's going viral and what's not going viral. And I can choose for my clients to piggyback on that, to give full attribution, of course, but to just know what's working on Facebook outside of my little world. Highly, highly recommend something called CrowdTangle. All right. So the next thing that we're going to look at is the case study that we have here on Moms Demand Action. All right. So very quick background here. After Newtown, a woman, a mom, a wife, working, living at home in Indianapolis, decided to start a Facebook page called 1 Million Moms for Gun Control. And she quickly got a lot of people interested in what she was doing, and was able to then merge with Mayor Bloomberg's group and rebrand themselves as Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. All right, so this is just an incredible story of the power of one woman and the power of social media to really start changing the conversation in America about this particularly divisive issue. So let's move on to a case study here. So they really decided that one of their strategies was going to be changing the culture and using Mothers Against Drunk Driving as a model to change the conversation and change the culture. And one of the ways you can do that is a corporate responsibility campaign, go after corporations. And they decided to go after Starbucks because Starbucks had been kind of hijacked by the guns rights groups in order to open carry their guns into Starbucks and take pictures of themselves doing that. So they decided to go after Starbucks and do a corporate responsibility campaign about this time last year. And so here's an example of what the gun rights movement was able to do. They were really able to kind of hijack the brand and make it seem as if Starbucks was gun-friendly. And do things like this. So of course, if you're the brand manager for Starbucks, this is a disaster. This is not what you want people to do with your logo. And Starbucks really wasn't doing anything about it. Okay, so the gun rights people then had these Starbucks appreciation days, which was just really interesting. And they created Facebook groups, and they said, hey, on Friday, August 9th, 2003, let's all show up at Starbucks across the country with our guns and take pictures of ourselves. And of course, Moms Demand Action figured out what was going on and posted this and protested it, but this happened, and Starbucks didn't do anything about it. And so this is just really interesting to see the power of words, because this is what the this is what the open carry movement did, is they took pictures of themselves, posted it on Facebook, and Moms Demand Action was able to then further amplify those images, get them into the mainstream media, and really show how kind of weird the open carry movement is, and to make it clear that it was not normal, and people did not want to get their frappuccinos with people carrying assault weapons and handguns. And so here's just a couple of photographs. Photographs are incredibly important. And this is what people click on and share and gets them really angry and emotional. Here's another photograph, all right? So you can see not a good-looking way to be greeted at Starbucks, with these four guys with their guns, looking like a bunch of yeehaw locals. Okay, here's another picture. Again, pictures of themselves with Starbucks and guns on Facebook. All right. So what was Starbucks' policy at the time? They really wanted to comply with local laws, and so what that meant is that they didn't do anything different. If the local law said you can't bring guns, then they were like, you can't bring guns. If the local law says you could open carry, they said, okay, fine. But they weren't wanting to take any type of position at all. And Moms Demand Action didn't, agree with that. So they started a corporate responsibility campaign called Skip Starbucks Saturday, where they had people take pictures of themselves not drinking Starbucks coffee and posting that all over social media platforms, including here their Facebook page. And you can see pictures of lots of moms having lots of coffee that is not Starbucks and getting the message out. So then we move forward to see they changed their policy. So then about a month later, Starbucks posted at midnight on September 18th that they were changing their policy. They were asking people not to bring their guns into their stores. And this was just a massive, massive, huge change for a corporation of the size of Starbucks to get involved in the gun debate, which they didn't want to do, and to make a change, which was incredible. And you can see the reach here. I mean, it's 35 million people like this page, 35 million people. And of course, the gun rights people went crazy about this. But it was a massive success, right? A massive success. So it went to the New York Times pretty quickly the next day and all over the internet and mainstream media. And then this was really smart. Moms Demand Action said, hey, let's thank Starbucks for doing the right thing, and let's have our members take pictures of themselves going to Starbucks, spending money at Starbucks, and posting pictures on social media and using a hashtag called Celebrate Starbucks. That really made people feel good about themselves and get involved in the debate. All right. So then let's move forward to another part of what they're up to, and it's really quite interesting to see what they're doing. And they moved on to then protest, or not protest. They were having a meeting last fall on a Saturday, with 4 moms meeting for lunch in a strip mall in Texas. And this group called Open Carry Texas decided to counter-protest them in the parking lot at the same time, just because they thought it was a good idea. And so this is what they saw, right? So this was a picture that the Open Carry people took of themselves, posted on their Facebook page, and Moms Demand Action just immediately put this out into social media and Twitter and Facebook and email to really show people that, hey, we had 4 women go to lunch at a local strip mall, and here are these guys showing up with their assault weapons to protest us. That doesn't seem very fair. That doesn't seem very normal. That seems kind of weird. Okay. So they started really doing well. Here's another picture, right? So this is, again, not normal America, and these are pictures that they're taking and posting on their pages, i.e. Open Carry Texas pages. But this stuff was starting to go viral, and again, this is all happening within hours of this lunch happening. Okay, so it went from local social media to national social media to blogs like Huffington Post and Think Progress to cable TV, to the New York Times, all within about 48 hours. It's pretty amazing, kind of the power of this. So here it is on Twitter. You can see Moms Demand Action founder gets death threats from gun owners. Then memes were created. This is really important. So you take an image and you create a meme. And so this was comparing the Open Carry Texas guys to the Taliban, and saying, you know, what's the difference between these guys and these guys? Very powerful meme posted across Facebook. And, you know, the power of images are just huge. And then you can see, you know, within 48 hours, Shannon was on MSNBC getting interviewed, talking about this issue, how they were getting threatened by Open Carry Texas. So again, local parking lot story going national within 48 hours. It then got on Joe Nocera on his gun report in the New York Times. Again, pretty amazing in terms of speed. Okay, so what, right? So what? Who really cares? So this took a local event and made it part of the national conversation, and it happened really fast. But you have to be very media savvy. This is not a 9-to-5 job. This is not, hey, weekends, let's go party. They were paying attention to the conversation, what was going on 24/7. This happened on a Saturday afternoon, and they needed to act, you know, within minutes to get this going. And so they were able to do that. And so they were able to get this story to further promote their particular angle on this story, you know, again, from local story in a strip mall to the national media within 48 hours. Okay, so here are just some social tactics, and people ask me questions all the time. So what are the best and worst parts of social media? You know, the best part is real-time communication. And, you know, the worst part is real-time communication. And here's a great example with Kenneth Cole during the spring, or the uprising, the Arab Spring in Cairo, when people were actually getting killed, of course, and it was not a good situation, making light of a situation where revolution was happening, where he says millions are in uproar in Cairo. It's just crazy. So he got really, the brand got really lambasted. It was not a good idea for the brand to have that happen. And you just really need to pay attention. You know, you can use newsjack in the wrong way. Okay, you can newsjack in the wrong way. The other thing is most common mistake for nonprofits and social media. This is something I see all the time. You have this great social media engagement, people posting during June, July, and August, and then in September, the channel, social media, Facebook, Twitter, everything else just goes dark. And why did that happen? Because you gave the social media channel to the interns who did an awesome job, but they went back to school, and you didn't have anybody to resource the channels. So not a good idea to do that. Let's see, next. How do you turn a social media, a nonprofit social media campaign into physical action in the world? And so for a lot of my clients, that's what we do, is we're constantly providing support and amplifying. We're taking local events, and they're sending us photographs, and we're posting that on Facebook and Twitter so people can participate in local events and protests and marches and stuff like that. So, but it's not easy, but you need to do that. And here's just a fun picture of one of my clients, Mom's Clean Air Force, with the field staff in Indiana, and her daughter at a local event where she had a table set up, and she was recruiting moms to sign documents that we needed, you know, petitions and to join and stuff like that. The other one is, how do you make your causes break through the clutter. And social media, like anything, takes a lot of hard work. It's art, it's science, it's 24/7. There's a lot of luck, but there's also just a lot of really hard work that you don't see with analytics, understanding what's working, what's not working, advertising, promotion, and it's just a lot of hard work. You can't just build it and they will come. So that's about it. That's my name again is Shaun Dakin. I'm at Shaun Dakin on Twitter. Check out my website. Send me an email. Sign up for my email newsletter that comes out once a week. People seem to love it. And we really appreciate that you were able to come today. So let me stop screen sharing and come back to you. You can see over my shoulder a picture of me and my wife on our wedding day. And I just really appreciate this time, and hopefully you learned something. And engage with me however you wish to engage with me. All right, thanks so much. Bye.